Pictures. Right, everybody can see it? All righty. So as I mentioned before, actions are getting shorter and shorter, and some of the items in the list become repetitive because they haven't been resolved yet. Again, we still remain to complete the Hardin site, but we're waiting for some answers from the city of Iowa Falls so we can proceed. So we've done everything we can do to the site. The remaining, we just need to wait for the agreement to be in place to be able to complete that. That's landscaping, a retention wall, and stuff like that. So we're still working with the city, but we're waiting for some answers in that one.
And not returning my calls anymore.
We're in the same boat.
Tried it again.
Correct. So we can't quite do anything until we get some answers, so we're kind of a little bit at a loss as to what to do right now. Right, the next one is the Start Rock Rapids construction. So we have some agreements. One of the things that we had to do, which took a little bit longer, was we had to do, it sounds odd, but remember that we're doing a twin tower. So we're building a new tower and then we're tearing down the old tower. In order to tear down the old tower, we actually have to beef it up so we can tear it down. So that's because part of the teardown process involves attaching some items to the tower itself so that we can gen pull and pull some things down out of the tower. So we performed a structural analysis of the tower. They provided us what they call a rigging plan, which says here's where we're going to put the pulleys, this is how this whole thing's going to work. So we have all that stuff in place. They're actually up there staking the site one more time. So that we can get boots in the ground and start the process. So we're green to go. It's just a matter, it took quite a while to get there because everybody had to be in agreement to be able to do this. We completed the software refresh at every backhaul node. That was important. This was different than the P25 network upgrade, which we've already completed. This was really more about the backhaul, the MPLS network that supports the P25 system. So we had to go and upgrade every node. In essence, every place where there is a microwave radio, there's an MPLS router, so we had to go and touch every box. And that meant resetting the box, taking 5 minutes to reset every box, so we've completed that process already. We continue working with the generator startups. Again, we're almost done with those, but that's just one of those things. It takes a little while to get everyone ready and certified. So we're doing pretty well with those as well. And then the coverage testing, which we restarted. So that's the reason I'm with my computer, because I figured I'd show you some pictures. So this is what it looks like right now. Before, we had a lot more blue in there. Everything that's green has been coverage tested. So the tiles that are orange is where we have teams right now out in the field. And then the blue with the orange letters, which is basically every blue that's here, is what's follows. So once they come off of the counties that they're working on right now, they'll move on to the blue counties. And then the area in the and here up in the northwest corner are the areas that we're going to wait until we get Rock Rapids done. We're actually mulling over maybe doing these two over here, Osceola and O'Brien, and then leaving these two for when Rock Rapids gets done. We haven't made up our minds yet on that one. But overall, you know, we've had a lot of folks driving, basically working 12, 14 hours a day, weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. So we've been able to push this really hard, and we've been making a lot of good progress on this. Overall, this map shows you what the analysis is telling us. So we're currently at 99.34%. So we could actually fail about 4 entire counties and still be okay. Not that that's our goal, but
And you won't.
Right.
no, we won't. You can see the red dots where we get the scattering, right? So you see some over here in this area down here. You see some over here, some over here, some at the edge over here, and up here. Nothing is surprising. Again, a lot of these areas we didn't predict coverage, but we still test it anyway. Because here the goal is to test every tile that we can. If it's reachable, we test it. Areas that we can get into, like down here, it's just all the flooding. We can't access the areas. So we expect the what is it, 6 or 7 that are active right now. At least 4 of those to be done by the end of this week. So it's looking like we should be done by the end of next week with all of these, with the remaining. Maybe if we throw in the additional 2, that will overflow. Yes.
That map's really encouraging, Melvin. And just so that I remember, because I can't remember this, these are just the state-built sites, right? These don't
Correct.
count local enhancements.
Correct.
Thank
So when we do the coverage testing, we program the radios. We don't look for any add-on towers. It's all the baseline system. And in all areas, the reason you have add-on towers is to try to cover for the dots, especially for in-building coverage. So it only gets better. Any questions on the map?
This may not be, if you want to keep that up there for a second, Melvin, this may not be something that you would know, but obviously most of these areas and stuff that are in the gray that you haven't been able to get to, like what you pointed out there in southwest Iowa, most of the stuff is rivers and the Los Hills out there in the west and the lakes and things like that. The one that I'm questioning is the one that's on the southern border of Fayette and Dubuque County. It just seems to run along both those borders. There's a gray area that runs along both those borders there. What's there? Does anybody know?
That's what I was thinking too.
That you can't get to?
I'm not sure what county is that? Back up.
2 down over on the upper right.
Yep.
Which county?
The upper right, Fayette and Clayton County.
Northern Delaware, northern Buchanan.
Right along those county borders.
Fayette County, and which was the other one?
Clayton County right next to it.
Oh, these 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you go back to your coverage map,
These 2.
right, so along their southern borders.
Down here?
Yeah, what
A
is
lot
that?
of time, when we started this process, I actually took one county for myself. I kind of wanted a little bit of the pain to experience that, get with the guys too, but a lot of times it's either farming or private property that we can get into. You know, the tile makes it right at the edge and you just can't get into, the road won't make it all the way in. So a lot of times there's just either not a drivable road or it's private property that we can get into. In other cases, when I did it, I just ran into roads that would have been drivable, but that there's a stream that nearby or a lake that nearby and just overflowed and it just covered the road with water, so we didn't go in there.
I'm from that part of the state too. There's actually quite a few level B roads up there, which are difficult to navigate.
Sure. So everything else and stuff kind of is tied to a natural, that you can tell by the map, except for right along those 2 borders is all. That's why I didn't know if you knew that off the top of your head.
Correct.
So.
Correct. It's odd how it lines up, but you can even see it over here where there's areas in here that
Right.
Why is that? But just how it turns out to be. Down here, I believe there's either an armory or something down here, some sort of a military something down here. But most of it is terrain related, no roads or farmlands. And sometimes you'll hit the road right at the edge, but not enough to get into that area, so you end up with big squares that look like that.
That's all I had. Go ahead, Melvin, if you're
Okay.
ready to finish your one.
All right, so the next thing is we're going to start delivered audio quality testing, which is the Can You Hear Me Now? So we're going to start that next week. We did the capital area here yesterday with Sergeant Hove, and we did that because we want to do not only just actually get it done, but we also wanted somebody to see the process from the beginning to the end. How do we set up the radios? How do we gather all the data? How do we merge the data? And then we had him sit in our office and evaluate 100 tiles, which is really 2 inbound and outbound, so you have to double that. And he evaluated every single one, and then we took that and transported it into a map so that he can see the overall approach. So our goal is to start this next week. We're looking at starting with 5 teams at first, make sure everybody feels comfortable with it, and then we're going to start increasing more. Beyond that, we have to execute the assessment test plan. So we have the approved ATP. We provided it, and it's been approved. So now what we're doing is trying to figure out how do we want to do it in terms of not affecting local traffic on the system, because the system is being used. So we want to make sure that we do it in such a way so that when we do, because some of the tests are intrusive, so we want to make sure that when we group those together so that a particular week we say, well, we're going to do these intrusive tests, so we notify everybody that we're going to do this so that no one panics when they see a glitch or a red X or something. Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit about the acceptance testing? That's not just coverage, that's actually specific features of the system, right?
Correct. So we do dispatch calls, radio calls, multi-group calls, emergency calls, reroute traffic, break a path and watch the traffic be rerouted a different path, switch from the cores so that we can simulate a failure in one core and have all the data rerouted to the other core. So those are the ones that I consider more intrusive, that you get a blip and then it comes back up again, so all those kinds of tests. So it's really feature functionality type stuff. So it's beyond the coverage. And then the final site walks. Right now we are working with the teams to clean up the sites, get any debris that are left over, pallets, broken down pallets, leftover materials, stuff like that. So it'll be great to walk the site when it's dry. That's all I had. Any questions?
Yeah, Melvin, I have, unrelated to the project, but related to the project. For the UGC, and I'm sure you've probably seen the new process that we're going through that's going to include at this point Motorola for the loading analysis, giving Motorola 30 days from the time that you folks receive the applicant participation plan to provide some sort of opinion. You'd indicated at a meeting a month or so ago that you need at least 2 weeks, so we're giving you 30 days. But from my point of view, is that something that you want me to send to you, or is there an engineer that needs to see that, or specifically who does that need to go to?
I think going forward, for the time being, we need to make sure that goes to the customer support manager, and then he can figure out who that gets forwarded to.
It goes to Dan then?
That would be Dave Gordon.
Dave?
Dave, yeah.
Okay.
Because the reason for that is, believe it or not, we're be coming to a close very soon, right? And so we want to make sure that even if it ends up back on us, it still goes through that channel so that when we move on, that the front end remains the same and then he gets to send it to the appropriate person.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Melvin? Okay, thank you, Melvin.
Okay.